Okay, let's dig into this. We've got a really remarkable source today. It's an ancient Buddhist text, and it tells the story of just one monk, Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu.
Yeah, a really specific focus.
Right. So think of this deep dive as, your way into understanding a pretty profound teaching about where motivation, real strength actually comes from.
Exactly. We're pulling this straight from a commentary on the Dhammapada. And this story, it just illustrates a principle that feels, well, incredibly relevant, even now.
Thousands of years later. Yeah.
So our mission really is to unpack this narrative, find that core message about self-reliance.
And honestly, the way this monk actually, did it, the method he used to reach his goal, it's not what you'd expect.
No, it really isn't. Kind of surprising.
Yeah, quite surprising.
It definitely pushes back against some common ideas about how we motivate ourselves, how we get past those inner hurdles.
Okay, so to really get the insight, we have to start at the beginning. Who was this guy before he put on the robes?
Well, the text paints a clear picture. Just a poor man living by hired labor.
Working for others, basically.
Yeah, just doing work for other people to, survive.
And you get this really strong visual, right? A monk sees him, and the text says carrying a plow, wearing ragged cloth.
Yeah.
That image, carrying the weight of that life, it really sets the scene, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the monk who sees him, well, he asks a very direct question.
Which is?
Essentially, why live like this? Wouldn't it be better to ordain?
Wow, okay. That's a bit out of the blue. How did the man react?
His response feels so practical, almost resigned maybe. He just asks, who would ordain someone living like me?
Ah, so he felt like his situation just disqualified him, like it wasn't even an option.
That's how it sounds, yeah. He just couldn't see it happening. But the monk's offer just cuts right through that assumption.
What did he say?
If you will ordain, I will ordain you. Simple as that.
And the man?
He accepts. Just, good venerable sir, if you will ordain me, I will ordain. Sadhu bante, sachima pabajasata, pabajisamiti. A real turning point. Suddenly there's this possibility.
So the change begins. The text says the monk takes him to Jethavana Monastery. Gives him a bath, actually, with his own hand. It says, Sahathina Nahapetva.
Which is a lovely detail, that personal care.
Isn't it? And then arranges for his ordination, Pavajetava.
And he gets this new name right, Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu, which is interesting because it connects to his past, the plow, but points forward.
And that name stuck with him.
Yeah, even at his higher ordination, Upasampadakalepi Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu. But there's this other detail in the text, the symbolism. It's really striking.
You mean the ragged cloth and the plow? What happened to them?
He put his old cloth and the plow on a tree branch, but right at the boundary of the monastery grounds.
Oh, wow.
It's like this clear physical line saying, okay, that life, it stays out there. I'm crossing over now.
You'd think, okay, great. New life, new identity, living on the support for monks. The text says, living on the gains and honor given to the Buddhas.
Buddhana upanahasakara nisayajavanto. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. But the story tells us his inner struggle, well, it wasn't quite over yet.
Not at all. Despite everything changing on the outside, inside he became restless, unhappy. The Pali word is ukehitva.
And he couldn't shake it.
Couldn't resolve it. De tu asakanto. Those old pulls, they were still there. Strong. He actually started thinking about going back.
Back to the fields. Back to being a laborer.
Yeah, the check says he was thinking, Nadani sadadayani kathayani paridahi fagami samiti patikatra jivitu kamojatoti. Basically, I won't wear these robes given out of faith anymore. I want to go live by hired labor.
So when he feels this really strong pull backwards, where does he go?
Back to that tree.
The boundary marker, where he left the symbols of his old life.
Exactly. But what happens at the tree? Well, that's the really unique part of this story.
This is the surprising bit you mentioned.
This is it. Standing there, the source says he started to scold himself. By himself. Atanava atanayavadi.
Scold himself, like berate himself. We're usually told that's not helpful, right? Negative self-talk.
Well, it sounds like it, but maybe the intent or the effect was different. The text actually gives us the words he used.
What did he say?
Looking at those old ragged things, he says to himself, shameless one, without conscience. You want to put this on, wander around, and live by hired labor.
Ahirikanilaja ida nivaseta bamito batikatatevi takama jatoti. He's really calling himself out.
directly confronting that part of him that wants to give up, wants to go back to the struggle he just escaped.
Now, what happened? Did it work? Did it just make him feel worse?
According to the text, the effect was immediate. As he was thus scolding himself, his mind became subtle, lighter. Tasava atana uvadantaseva, shetalatanuvvatakati.
Wow. So the restlessness, the heaviness, it actually lessened.
It did. But here's the thing. It wasn't like a magic fix, one time and done.
Oh, so it came back.
Yes, the source is clear. He'd get restless again, that same struggle would surface, and he'd go back to the tree. Punasu sitadinasuti.
And do the same thing.
And scold himself in the same way. Iminava neharina ukatitakale tatagantva atana uvari. And each time, his mind would become lighter again. This literally became his practice, his method.
That's really something. I can imagine the other monks noticing this, right? Him just walking back and forth to this one tree.
Definitely. The text says they saw him going there often. Bhikkhutata avisha gatagachandisva. And naturally, they got curious.
So they asked him about it.
Yep. Friend Naṅgalakūṭattheravatthu, why do you go there? Avusa Naṅgalakūṭattheravatthu kasma eto gachatiti.
And what did he say? Did he explain the whole self-scolding thing?
No, his reply was pretty cryptic at first. He just said, I'm going to my teacher.
To his teacher. But he's alone at a tree.
Exactly. But maybe, from his perspective, he was going to his teacher.
You mean himself? The part he was trying to awaken or discipline?
Perhaps. That inner conscience, the part he was rousing to keep him on the path. And the result of all this intense inner work.
Yeah.
It's significant.
It made progress.
Big progress. The source says in just a few days, he attained arhatship. Full liberation. Kadipaseva arhatapapui.
Through this method. Wow. Okay, so after he attains liberation, I assume the trips to the tree stopped.
They did. And the other monks, they noticed that too.
And they couldn't resist asking about it, I bet.
Exactly. They sort of teased him, maybe, or were genuinely asking, Friend Naṅgalakūṭattheravatthu, your path of wandering has become like one without footprints. I suppose you are not going to your teacher?
Oh, so the need was gone.
Right. And his reply now, it's completely different. It's the voice of someone who's free.
What did he say?
Yes, indeed. When we had ties, we went. But now our ties are cut. Therefore, we do not go.
Abant. Maya, sasagasati, agayima, idanipana no sasakachino, tananagachamati. Ties with the old life, the defilements cut. That says it all.
It really does. But the other monks, they didn't quite grasp the depth of it. The text says they thought he was, like, speaking falsely or maybe just dodging the question again.
So they took it higher up.
They went to the Buddha, told him what Naṅgalakūṭattheravatthu had said. Satutamatala shasu.
And the Buddha, what was his take on all this?
The Buddha completely confirms it, both the attainment and the validity of his, well, unique method. He says, yes, monks, my son has reached the culmination of the ordained life.
By urging himself on by himself.
Exactly. Ama bikave mama puto atanava atanakodettva pavatitakitas matakapatoto. That's the absolute core of it. The power, the push, it came from within him.
And then the Buddha gives these two verses, right? From the Dhammapada, crystallizing this whole idea.
Yes, powerful verses. The first one, Dhammapada 261. Urge yourself on by yourself. Examine yourself by yourself. Thus, guarded by yourself and mindful, you will dwell happily, O monk.
So, ataguto sattamasuka bikuvihahisi. So, insight one, the urging, the examining, that's your job, internal work.
Right. And then the second verse, maybe even more famous, Dhammapada 380. The self is indeed the master, the refuge of the self.
Atahi atanonato.
The self is the goal, the course of the self.
Atanogati.
Therefore, restrain yourself, like a merchant restrains a noble horse.
Tasmasayama tananasavadrava vajoti. Insight two. You are your own refuge, your own master.
And the commentary helps us unpack these terms a bit more. Urge yourself on, koreyatana, it means rouse yourself, push yourself, by yourself. Atanafa, atanakoryasarya, it's that internal kickstart.
Okay, and examine yourself, Paimasate.
That means reflect on yourself, investigate yourself again, by yourself. Atanava, atani parivimasa, the self-awareness piece.
Got it. Self-motivation, self-reflection, all internal. And guarded by yourself and mindful, ataguto satima. That means you'll dwell happily, siti, because that inner work protects you.
Precisely. You're secure in all situations because of that self-awareness and self-discipline. Then there's Natha refuge, Master.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The commentary calls it support, foundation, avasayopatiya. And then it asks this crucial question, who else could be a refuge? It makes the point that you can't actually achieve merit or liberation just by relying on someone else's existence. Kohi nato paropadeya, para sa atabhavipatiyai, papitu no saka. The ultimate foundation has to be you.
So all those words, gapya patiya support, set on refuge, they're all pointing back to the self as the source for the self.
Exactly. It's all directing you inward for strength, for guidance.
Okay, but how do you do that? The merchant and horse analogy seems key here. Self-admonition.
It's a great practical image. Restrain yourself like a merchant restrains a noble horse. Think about it. A merchant with a really valuable horse.
They take care of it, feed it, bathe it, keep it safe.
Right, because that horse is crucial for their business, for their profit. They manage it carefully, restrain it when needed.
So we should manage ourselves, our minds, our impulses with that same kind of focused care, understanding our own potential value.
That's the idea. Sayama atana. You restrain or guard yourself. You prevent the unwholesome stuff from arising. You abandon it if it already has, using mindfulness.
Sati-sama sina upanay pajahanto atana sayama gopaya.
Yes. And this restraint, this self-management, it isn't just about stopping bad things. It's what allows you to attain higher states. Worldly goals, spiritual goals, whatever they might be. Eva santi. Lokialakutarvisisa. It's actively shaping your inner world for the best result.
So bringing this back to you, listening right now, this ancient story, it really offers a powerful, maybe even countercultural perspective today.
It really does. In a world that's constantly telling you to look outside for advice, for validation, for fixes.
For gurus, for systems.
Right. This text just completely flips that. It says the ultimate source is in here.
And it highlights something like self-admonishment, that really honest, maybe tough inner conversation, not as just beating yourself up, but as a potentially powerful tool.
A tool for self-correction, for motivation. Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu didn't need someone else standing at that tree telling him what to do. He needed to confront himself.
Think about that core idea. The self as your own master, your own refuge. How much time and energy do you maybe spend looking for that outside yourself?
This story suggests the deepest wellspring, the most reliable guide, is actually internal. You learn how to access it.
So when you feel that restlessness, that pull back to old ways, old habits, or you just need a kickstart, where do you instinctively look first?
This story kind of encourages you to redirect that look inward.
And that merchant and horse analogy gives you a practical way to think about it. How are you managing your own noble horse?
Your mind, your potential, your energy. Are you being a mindful merchant? Are you restraining what needs restraining to guide yourself where you want to go?
It's really a call to inner accountability, inner agency, the capacity for strength, for change. It's not somewhere else. It's right here.
Waiting for you to engage with it. Honestly, directly.
So we've basically traced this journey from a poor laborer struggling
to enlightened monk. All through this, let's face it, unusual practice of talking firmly to himself.
Yeah, scolding himself back onto the path. And his journey, validated by the Buddha, boiled down into those verses.
It gives us this incredibly clear message. Your deepest motivation, your ultimate refuge, it's you.
You just have to maybe dare to look inward and have that honest conversation with yourself.
The source material even mentions that when the Buddha gave this teaching, explaining Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu's path, many people listening had breakthroughs. Bisanavasani bahu sotaparifaladini papuchasuti.
So it clearly struck a chord then, this idea of inner reliance.
Just like it can today. It's a timeless principle.
Okay, so let's leave you with this thought, something to maybe reflect on from this deep dive. If your own mind, your own self, is truly your ultimate refuge and guide, what internal conversation do you need to start having today to really direct yourself towards your goals, whatever they happen to be?
You're thinking about Naṅgalakuṭattheravatthu. What ties might be holding you back right now? Ties that maybe only you, through that inner confrontation, can actually cut.